So let's just jump right in. Think about what a basic grocery run or, your monthly rent cost you maybe 5 or 10 years ago compared to today. It's wild, right? You're probably working harder than ever, maybe even earning a higher salary. But despite all that effort, you just feel poorer. The math isn't mathing. Your money simply doesn't stretch nearly as far as it used to.
Section 1. The Invisible Wealth Thief.
Look, you haven't been robbed in the dead of night. Nobody broke into your home, nobody hacked your bank account. But there is this silent, completely legal thief called inflation, and it's secretly stealing your future literally $1 at a time. Now, most of us just think inflation means, oh, prices are higher at the store, but the real danger goes way deeper. The real danger is the attack on your purchasing power. Purchasing power is basically the actual muscle of your cash. It's the real amount of goods or services a single unit of money can actually buy you in the real world.
I love this analogy because it hits the nail on the head. Imagine holding an ice cube in your bare hand outside on a really warm summer day. Slowly but surely, it starts to melt away. Well, inflation does the exact same thing to your money. Your bank balance? Sure, it might look fantastic on paper. The number might even be going up. But the actual muscle, the true buying power of that cash, is steadily shrinking. It's essentially melting right there in your hands. To put that into perspective, let's look at the numbers. Based on historical data, something that cost a clean $100 20 years ago, well, that exact same thing would cost you around $167 today just to keep up. Think about that. The face value of your paper bill is exactly the same. It still says $1, but its underlying power is just totally deteriorated.
Section 2. Why it happens.
So why on earth does this happen? What's fueling this invisible force? Without getting bogged down in crazy economic jargon, it really comes down to 3 basic things. Number 1, supply and demand. Basically, too much demand chasing too few goods. Number 2 is cost push. This happens when the actual cost to make stuff goes up, like super expensive energy or high shipping costs, and businesses just pass that extra cost right on to you. And number 3 is an increased money supply. When central banks create a bunch of new money and pump it into the system, your existing money becomes less rare, and because it's less rare, it's instantly less valuable.
Section 3. Who gets hurt most? Here's the harsh truth. Inflation doesn't hit everyone equally. Actually, it operates like a deeply unfair, regressive tax. It completely crushes certain groups while massively rewarding others. Thanks to an economic quirk called the Cantillon effect, new money entering the system doesn't benefit everyone all at once. Fixed-income earners and heavy cash savers, they suffer the absolute most as prices rise. But on the flip side, asset owners and people with a ton of debt often win big. They get to pay back their old debts with new, cheaper dollars, all while the value of their businesses or real estate skyrockets. Just take a look at this data. Lower-income households and renters get squeezed the absolute hardest. People making between $25,000 and $35,000 a year are vastly more stressed by inflation than folks making over $250,000. And it makes sense, right? Because a huge chunk of a lower-income budget goes straight to absolute necessities. We're talking food, rent, energy. And those are the exact categories seeing the most aggressive price hikes. Which brings us to this brutal mental trap. Inflation plays a massive psychological trick on us. Let's say you get a raise at work. Naturally, you feel richer. You celebrate. Maybe you go out to dinner. But then reality sets in. You quickly realize that your rising rent, skyrocketing insurance, and ridiculous grocery bills have completely wiped out that new income. It's like you're sprinting on a treadmill just to stay in the exact same spot. So how do we actually fight back against an enemy we can't even see? Well, before we get into the game plan, if you're finding this valuable, please subscribe to Wealth Lab and share this video with your friends and family. It really helps us grow.
Section 4. Staying ahead.
All right, time to play some offense. You can't just play defense or try to save your way out of this mess. That just won't work. To stop being a victim of inflation and step up as its opponent, there are 4 basic, super beginner-friendly rules we need to follow. Let's break them down.
Rule number 1, you've got to redefine cash. From now on, cash is strictly a tool for emergencies. Full stop. Obviously, you absolutely need an emergency fund to keep you safe, no doubt about it. But cash is not a long-term strategy for building wealth. Any money just sitting idle in a bank vault is actively getting weaker every single day.
Rule number 2, own assets. You can't just rely on a salary forever. If your only income is a paycheck, you are always going to struggle against rising prices. But think about it. Businesses can raise their prices to keep up. Real estate owners can raise their rents. When you actually own productive assets, inflation suddenly starts working in your favor instead of totally against you.
Rule number 3, invest consistently. Look, so many people just sit on the sidelines. They're waiting for perfect timing or perfect market conditions. Spoiler alert, perfect conditions do not exist. They are never going to arrive. And meanwhile, inflation never waits. It just keeps marching forward. Consistent, regular investing puts your money to work so it can actually outpace that melting ice cube.
And finally, rule number 4, increase your financial education. Average folks spend their whole lives chasing tiny raises, living in constant fear of things getting more expensive. But the wealthy? They spend their time actually studying money. They learn how to build compounding assets. The more you understand how this crazy system works, the harder it is for this silent thief to exploit you.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to make a major mindset shift. Stop asking how much money you have in the bank. That's the old way of thinking. Instead, start asking yourself a much more important question. How much true purchasing power are you actively protecting for your future? Because honestly, your financial freedom depends entirely on how you answer that question.
Thank you for joining us today. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to Wealth Lab. We'll see you in the next one.